What's up, everybody? This is Juicier Samuels, and it looks like the journey continues. So recently, I was speaking to a friend of mine. Shout out to Annie, and she asked me a question about legacy or my story, my why. And over the last couple of days, I have to say it has definitely been on my mind, and also how I want to build Faiā, how I want to make it be more than just myself or have it grow to be something more than I ever could have imagined. And with that, I actually put out a poll to users on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn around two subject areas, or yeah, two subject areas. One being people in tech, and the other one being blockchain and communities. And the reason for that is because before I came to Singapore, the original idea for Faiā was actually for it to be a consulting slash training company. And the reason for that was because a lot of my experience in the community management space over the years, when I moved into the corporate space, turned out to be quite useful for enterprises. So the ability to teach new emerging tools like Slack, like Atlassian's Confluence, both of these tools I learned on my own, and then I was then able to teach that to everybody else at the company. Not only teach, but also roll that out company wide, with the help, of course, with other colleagues. Now, I remember distinctly a few colleagues saying, if you took these skills and actually went out to other enterprises and companies, they'd pay you lots of money for it. Now, of course, need to validate this, but that actually stuck with me, and noting the things that I've learned about business of the last decade. There are obviously ideas or paths, or target markets that have more money to spend than others. A lot of times in startups, they will do a lot of B2C, looking at scale, volume, and try to go after folks who typically might not have a lot of money. Then there's another path whereby you actually work with a few clients, but you target those with money. And in this case, of course, the enterprises, the corporates who do have money to spend. The hard bit, though, is, of course, getting into those companies, all right? Luckily for me, though, I do have contacts, both from my time at Iris and also just because of my networking abilities. So I do have contacts in this space. Now, we have set ourselves up as a marketing consulting agency within the blockchain space. And the reason why we did that was because when applying for the visa to get into Singapore, we really did want to sort of stand out. And we felt that if we put down ourselves as operating in blockchain marketing, that would help us stand out more so than others. Now, this was also before a lot of the more recent things happened with the bear market. So, that might have been a liability. But since I'm here, obviously that still worked in our favor. However, as I was talking to our team, when we were looking at the next decade, the plan was to start out niche within the blockchain marketing area, and then once we made a name for ourselves there, to then expand out to consulting around people in tech in general, which is sort of where our hearts really lie, like where our passion is, which is about helping people learn new tools, especially those who work in much older businesses, who may be afraid or not so confident with new tech and new tools. We love bridging that gap between the future and the past. And when we got involved with blockchain marketing, when we pulled that into or brought that up to the forefront, it was still in line with our love for people in tech, all right, blockchain communities. So with that, though, we did hold off on making any big major decisions around sort of the focus or target until January of next year. And that's only a couple of days away. We've actually secured a date for a launch party, which is going to be happening February 1st. We haven't published that yet, but we will be on Monday. And have already started securing some awesome guest speakers to show up at the event. But really now is the time for us to make a decision on whether we continue with blockchain marketing, all things considered, and knowing what's happening in this space. And I'm always trusting my gut and learning how to pivot as needed. But asking myself legacy-wise, like what is at the core, at the heart of all this? And it's pretty simple. If you know me or if you follow my journey, people in tech have always been common themes. So it may sound pretty clear, but we're gonna let it simmer for the next couple of days. But before the end of this year, we are gonna make a decision on this, and I'll share the results of the poll that I put across the different social media channels, and so you can see what actually people were more interested in the long run. So in terms of legacy, I do want to be able to share more of the It-Will-Come philosophy, but also apply it in a way for people at this intersection of people and tech. I think there's power to be had there. I think it's important for people to feel confident as all these new technologies emerge, and to find their own anchor point. And with that, as always, remember, through patience and persistence, it will come. Now let's go light of the world on Faiā.